let's start then. Hello everyone, I'm Sanchika. I'm from India. A very warm welcome to you to all the participants and our speakers and our guests for today, for the session today, which is on the topic of voice of tobacco victims, an important tool for political advocacy. Today, our chief guest is Dr. Adarsh Palkot, DHS Punjab, and our subject matter expert is Dr. Ashima Sarin, who is a director in Sambandh Health Foundation in Gurugram. Very warm welcome to everyone. Now, I would request Arun sir for the welcome address.
Thank you, Dr. Sanchika. I am Arun Verma from the team SIPHER. Good afternoon to each and everyone who has participated so far. On behalf of the organizer, the SIPHER and RCTC, as well as Department of Communication School of Public Health, PJM, Chandigarh, I feel honored to extend a very warm welcome to our presenter of the day, Dr. Ashima Sarin, who is a director of Sambandh Health Foundation Gurugram, as well as she's also the director of the Voice of Tobacco Victim campaign, having the network of 450 plus doctors. The chief guest for today, as told by Dr. Sanchika, is Dr. Adarsh Palkot. She is presently busy with the Home Minister Health Punjab and likely to join in a short while from now. I also feel, heartily welcome to our director, President Dr. Rakesh Gupta, who is the president of the SIPHER, Dr. Sanchia Gupta, manager from the ECHO India, Mr. Rajiv Chaudhary, program coordinator, Department of Community Medicine, School of Public Health, and all the eminent participants. Once again, I welcome each and everyone, and thank you so much. Over to Dr. Sanchika.
Thank you, sir. Now we'd like to introduce our guest speaker for today, Dr. Ashima Sarin, who's she's also the director of Voice of Tobacco Victims, a campaign which built up a network of more than 450 eminent doctors who are volunteering on tobacco control agenda across India. Ma'am is associated as a director in the Sambandh Health Foundation, Gurugram. Over to you.
Thank you, ECHO India. Dr. Rakesh, thank you so much for inviting Sambandh Health Foundation to present on an important topic, that is voice of tobacco victims, an important tool for political advocacy. So are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we have VoTV patrons also there today with us. Dr. Dalip is there from Madhya Pradesh. VoTV is a campaign which is currently housed in Sambandh Health Foundation. Now, back when we started, our mission has always been, we are going to do only those interventions which are going to reduce prevalence. If you all, those who've been, longer in tobacco control, I would say more than a decade, you would recall that, when hardly any policymakers, basically very few policymakers would give us time of the day. I remember, when head of programs in Bloomberg Philanthropies would visit India, she would meet a director tobacco control or maybe a consultant, and that used to be considered a big deal. So VoTV, how did we actually change that? So when we started, the tobacco is basically a health issue. But when we talk about tobacco control, it is a political issue. Tobacco industry has, a lot of powerful tools to influence the policymakers. But what do tobacco control has? So victims and their families are the most important stakeholders. We took their stories to the policymakers that led to change. So we told the policymakers to listen to their stories, and they listened. So those policymakers, and that is how various policy changes came in tobacco control in India, where VoTV became a game-changing campaign and significantly contributed to these policy changes. There are 44 VAT increases in 20 states, excise duty increases, Gutka was banned, loose cigarettes was banned under Legal Metrology Act, An amendment in Section 77 in Juvenile Justice Act was brought in. BD was brought in highest tax bracket in GST, 85% pack warning, significant contribution by VoTV, and act banning e-cigarettes. So these all policy changes were where VoTV played a key role and significantly contributed to tobacco control in India. Now, how did we start? You all know Dr. Pankaj Chaturvedi. VoTV is the brainchild of Professor Pankaj Chaturvedi, one of the leading tobacco control advocates in tobacco control in India. As I shared with you that VoTV is currently housed in Sambandh Foundation, and there are more than 450 plus doctors who are volunteering their time in tobacco control. This campaign is now managed by Sambandh Foundation and looked after by both Mr. Sanjay Seth and myself, along with support from all these 450 plus VoTV patrons. We call them VoTV patrons. There are more than, I think there are more than 20 states. Now, in 2011, Dr. Pankaj Chaturvedi and Mr. Sanjay Seth, they met late Shrimati Sushma Swaraji at her residence with 5 cancer patients. And she listened to the stories of these victims. When I say victims, these are patients who suffered because of tobacco. When she listened, the immediate reaction was she was so moved. She said, please organize an event in the Constitution Club in New Delhi. You bring patients and I will bring members of parliament. And to our surprise, we had about 45 members of parliament landed up there in that hall there. All of them, they listened to the stories of these victims and they were moved so much that they signed pledges, and this program generated a massive media coverage. It was all over in the news, and that is when we realized that this is an extremely powerful concept that is going to change, and it changed tobacco control in India. So that is how we started. In various states for gutka ban, VoTV patrons met the chief ministers, and the chief ministers signed the pledges, and later they banned gutka in their respective states. The same concept, they sensitized with the voice of tobacco, the VoTV patients. That is how the gutka ban came in India, in various states, in all states now in India. So our core remained sensitization, and to date we've sensitized more than 21,000. That includes policy makers, policy implementers, legal fraternity, cabinet ministers, chief ministers, members of parliament, and members of legislative assemblies. These interventions have been taken to the assemblies of 8 states. The VoTV programs, the sensitization programs were held within the assemblies during the sessions. So that really made a difference. It garnered a lot of support from the members of legislative assemblies. Also, an important aspect that has media. Now, tobacco control, we don't have such kind of money to throw in to get such large space in the print and online media. So VoTV sensitized media and got a lot of earned media coverage in tobacco control. VoTV also supported mass media campaigns of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, especially in gutka ban and pack warnings. Now, all of these sensitizations, they actually changed the climate of tobacco control in India. Let me share with you some specific and key campaigns which really are of importance, and we should all hear about it. So in gutka ban and pictorial pack warnings, VoTV advocacy went beyond sensitization. Not only VoTV sensitized the legal profession, but it brought on board luminaries such as Shri Gopal Subramaniam, Mr. Anand Grover, Mr. Prashant Bhushan, and also VoTV collaborated with the bar councils and held sensitization programs in Supreme Court, Allahabad High Court, Kolkata High Court to sensitize judges. So all of this led to basically all of these sensitization programs and sensitizing judiciary and legal profession, it garnered a lot of support in favor of tobacco control, because there were long legal battles in gutka ban and pictorial pack warnings. Another campaign where we heard, VoTV heard that, BD is going to be in lowest tax bracket in GST. And here, when we found out, we activated the network. They VoTV patrons across India, they met, sensitized, and advocated for BD getting BD in highest slabs in the state finance with the state finance ministers. And as a follow-up, again, 14 state finance ministers or secretaries were met to argue and say that BD has to be in the highest tax bracket. The most important was when Mr. Sushil Modi, who was the chairman of GST Council, VoTV had participated. All finance ministers, all state finance ministers were present there, and VoTV had participated, advocated for BD being in the highest tax bracket. And that is what led to, that was where the change came in, and it led to BD getting into the highest tax slab. The recent one, I say recent, it's 2019, the ENDS ban. There were some doctors who were working basically they were promoting electronic cigarettes, these ENDS, the products. And VoTV decided that, this something has to be done about it, because medical doctors should not be doing that. And Dr. Shiv Chaudhary, who's a VoTV patron, he's head of CTVS in AIIMS, New Delhi. He spoke to the DG ICMR, Dr. Balram Bhargav, who again happens to be a VoTV patron, to get a white paper developed, a white paper published. So there was an expert committee. In fact, in that expert committee, 5 out of 11 committee members were also VoTV patrons, and this white paper was quoted by the Ministry of Health in Parliament. Another one, when a well-known doctor was working with the e-cigarettes, and he started a signature campaign. He's no more on this earth now. He started a signature campaign wherein, favoring and making sure that e-cigarettes is not going to be, e-cigarettes is going to be promoting e-cigarettes. He was in favor of e-cigarettes. And he started signatures from medical doctors. Now, realizing that VoTV patrons across India mobilized medical doctors to write to the PM to make sure that this ban should happen. So, and this campaign of over 1,000 doctors writing to PM was quoted by Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman when she announced the ban on e-cigarettes. So all these policy changes, every policy change has a story. All those policy changes which I shared with you in the beginning, each one has story, but some key specific important campaigns I shared with you. Now, all of these policy changes, unless they are implemented, are mere pieces of paper. They are, much as policy advocacy is required, we need to ensure that these are implemented. If they are not implemented, we are probably not in the right direction. So VoTV's focus now is implementation, because only this is going to reduce prevalence. The implementation is going to reduce prevalence. In implementation in the National Tobacco Control Program, there are two key NTCP programs, that is tobacco-free educational institutions, TOFI as we call it, COTPA enforcement, the Cigarettes and Other Tobacco Products Acts enforcement. In both these, the departments which are education, the priority for education is education. The education department is education. For police, it is law, order, and crime. VoTV puts tobacco control on their agenda. That is how it makes a difference. And VoTV sensitized the police and education department officials in large numbers in 13 states such as Assam, Bihar, Delhi, Haryana, Meghalaya, Jharkhand, and so on. VoTV supports and they sensitize the officials for implementation of tobacco-free educational institutions in 7 states. That covers more than 4 lakh schools and more than 4.5 crore children. There are a total of about 15 lakh schools in India. Just we all should know that. And in COTPA enforcement, again, VoTV supports and sensitizes police officials in 10 states. See, VoTV has been a game changer and in changing policymakers' mindset. But it does not work in isolation. It works best when advocacy is supported by campaign, such as you saw that, legal campaign in courts, TOFI or COTPA in enforcement. That is when we see the largest impact on the ground. And that is what is going to reduce prevalence. So just to share with you, I was going to share a video. Let me reshare the screen, that how this has impacted when it works, when it is actually works with the best with the campaigns, not in isolation. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
It's a 2-minute short video.
Our schools have taken a commendable initiative to educate, inspire, and engage our community in the fight against tobacco. By organizing rallies and signature campaigns in public places, we aim to spread the message far and wide, reaching every corner of society. These campaigns serve as a powerful reminder that we have a collective responsibility to protect ourselves and future generations from the devastating effects of tobacco. This campaign symbolizes our rejection of a harmful habit and our unwavering commitment to preserving and cherishing life. Each signature collected is a voice raised against tobacco, an act of empowerment and solidarity. It represents our determination to build a healthier and tobacco-free world for ourselves and the generations to come. Meghalaya mounts powerful fight against tobacco.
that's the impact when VoTV sensitizes the officials, and that's the impact seen on the ground. That is all I have in my talk today. I'm happy to, if there are questions, I'll be very happy to answer those.
So, yeah, I think we must clap for this nice presentation. So, Dr. Sanchika. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for excellent presentation. And I would request Sanjay Seth, sir, for remarks on ma'am's presentation. Would you like to share something, sir?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're audible.
Yeah. So I think, as Dr. Ashima pointed out, these are combined campaigns. I mean, you do advocacy, but then unless there is a follow-up, it doesn't. The effect is not there. I see Ranjit over here, and he has been, co-warrior in many battles we have fought in the courts. And Ranjit will tell you how important it is to do both. See, when you sensitize the judges or you sensitize senior lawyers, the next thing they'll say is, give us case studies. I mean, give us the case law. Please give us material so that we can go and argue in court. And if you don't provide that, it doesn't, things don't go forward. The same thing is with policy. A lot of policies have been passed. It is good. That's a good first step. But unless these policies are translated into action on the ground, tobacco control is a myth. We are not really doing anything. So it is so important that the implementation of these policies is undertaken in a bigger way. In fact, what has happened is that with VoTV, there have been so many policy changes we have managed that today we think, getting a policy change is easy. It's not a problem. What is really the tough part or the tougher part is how do you implement that policy on the ground? There's no point in, our saying, yes, we've got a policy or, there's a Kotpa Act policy, but if there is no chalaning being done on the ground, if there are no people who are smoking in public places are not being caught, what is the point of having the act? So people keep arguing that we need to amend Kotpa. I think the far greater challenge is to enforce Kotpa, because let's face it, in all India, the violations are so many, the chalaning or the catching that violation is very little. Enforcement means you have to stop that violation from taking place. Then only are you going to see the impact. Then only are you going to see tobacco control happen. The same thing when we say toffee, tobacco-free educational institutions. If we just go and make 50 schools, we work with 50 schools. There are 15 lakh schools in the country. All right. Unless you are going to cover 80% of them, what is the point of having a policy? What kind of tobacco control is actually being achieved? So we'd just like to leave you with this thought. We have also been talking a lot about the end game. End game really means in India, or anywhere in the world, end game means when you've got tobacco prevalence levels down to around 5%, and then, you're talking about how do you end the tobacco story altogether. We are still at 28%. 28 crore people are using tobacco in this country. Why are we talking about end game? Let's talk about the middle game. Let's talk about the power play overs. We'll come to the last overs later. Okay, let's focus on the middle order. In fact, I would say we are still in the initial overs. So we really need to focus a lot of attention on implementation, going forward. Thank you. I think that's all I want to say right now.
Thank you, sir. Now I would request Dr. Dilip Acharya, sir, for the remarks, sir.
Dr. Dilip, are you with us? Maybe there is a net issue. He's not with us.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
अम्मा नहीं है पर
I can't see.
पहले होती
हाँ,
है.
थोड़ी
I
देर
would
पहले थे
request,
yeah.
हाँ, I would request Dr. Siddhi ma'am for any comments or any remarks.
Good afternoon. I want to ask ma'am, how do they take up that sensitization part? Because that is what is the key of their role. So that advocacy and the sensitization for politicians, and how does it work? Because ma'am, one more point I want to make. We keep talking about the policy, the companies, because they also have a strong hold on that part, sensitization from their part, the money factor and everything. So how do we deal with that?
Actually, see, a very important point. One is, like I said, that you said that tobacco industry has money. That's what you straight away laid out. But what does tobacco control has? That is what I said when I said that, patients who have suffered are the most important stakeholders. They are the ones, when you listen to their stories as a human being, it's nobody is insensitive. When a patient in front of you with a jaw removed or laryngectomy is standing and asking for something, this is what basically policymaker, if you had taken care of the law, I would have probably not been in this condition.
Definitely.
That is how that the policymaker immediately, the reaction is, okay, what am I supposed to do? Please tell me. So that is when we give our ask. For example, like the finance minister, the finance minister says, what should I do? So he say, okay, increase VAT. This is what was done. That is how that policy changes. The 44 VAT increases were done in 20 states. Have I answered your question?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Great.
When they see it on ground, because they won't be meeting many of these people, right? So,
yeah, it's one-on-one. See, VoTV doctors have a lot of VoTV doctors, such as even Dr. Dilip Acharya was here. He's a VoTV patron. They have a lot of clout within the state. Doctors is the expert of the disease. If they say that they meet them, they sensitize them, okay, this is what, please listen to their stories. When we say India 13.5 lakh people die, okay, that's a figure, that's a statistical figure, that's fine. But when I see actually what is happening in front of me, I can't be insensitive as a human being. Yeah. It's the emotional connect where that takes place and makes the policy, maker's mind change there in that moment.
you showed a signature campaign, but maybe that doesn't give that impact. Yeah, signatures are there, but we can get that online, and there are many campaigns like that. But yeah, seeing a patient alive in front of you definitely might have better role.
See, the signature campaign, you are referring to the one in the video?
Yeah, in the video, yeah.
So what the point I made was that, VoTV does not work in isolation. It works best when it is supported by a campaign. Yeah. So one of the campaigns on WNTD, World No Tobacco Day in Meghalaya, when it was done, every school was asked to do a rally wherein children participate and signature campaign. Basically, a student wrote in his notebook, in his own notebook or diary, that tobacco is harmful for the environment, not only health or environment, and get signature from the community, family, friends, relatives. See, if somebody comes to you and says, Madam Siddhi, please sign my notebook, any child which comes to you, would you, what would be your reaction? The first one.
Yeah.
You will ask, beta, what is this? And the child is supposed to say something.
Yeah.
He will automatically say, either he'll say, I had a school project and that's why please do this. Or I will probably, as a good student, I will explain it, tobacco, this is on tobacco.
This will sensitize the kid as well.
The kid is getting impacted. The community, the person who's signing is also signatures. People don't do, in casual way. They think about it when they sign.
Yeah.
So that's the campaign separate. That's the impact when VoTV patrons sensitize the education officials in Meghalaya. That's the impact what you saw. Because
Nice.
VoTV focus is now implementation. Earlier, we were working at the policy level, but we believe that policies are, as Mr. Seth also said, that these are policies are mere pieces of paper. As a first step, it is required. But unless they are implemented, I think we are not in the right direction.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Sanchika, before we can have our chief guest with us, I'll just like to compliment Sambandh Foundation, Health Foundation, and VoTV for the excellent work they have been doing. And VoTV, in fact, has been responsible for that ban on gutka, electronic cigarettes, JJ Act. They have been able to, do amendments, get the amendments done in JJ Act. And then 85% pictorial health warning. That was a very important issue for us, for all the tobacco control activists and those who are working in tobacco control. And they are now working in 10 states. That is commendable, really, for COTFA enforcement. And in 7 states, they are working for the TOFI implementation of the TOFI guidelines. So that is a great job they are doing. And I may just share some my experiences with the VoTV. Ashima and Sanjay, you must be remembering that we had a annual, what was that called, in Mumbai? What is that called? The
VoTV leadership meet.
Maybe it was VoTV leadership leave, but we have the Sunita with us. NHFW, I think it was.
I am not recalling, but we had many programs.
Okay. So I listened to Sunita, and she was so effective. Sunita was a tobacco victim herself. She was consuming smokeless tobacco, and she consumed for a very short time. And after that, she had cancer. And after that, actually, Dr. Pankaj Chaturvedi, he came to Punjab, and we met CM Punjab. Both of us, we went to his place, and we got a meeting time for only 10 minutes. But he was so much interested after listening to Dr. Pankaj that he gave us 1 hour. And when we left the house, we had that order of gutka ban with us. So that was really commendable. So this kind of work they are doing, the VoTV people, they are doing. So I think Dr. Adarsh Pal has not yet joined. We can have Dr. Dileep's comments now. Dr. Dileep is with us.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Actually, I have been associated with Dr. Pankaj, and then after being with the VoTV right from almost the beginning, and I've been a patron since then also, and has closely followed and appreciated the work being done by Dr. Ashima and Sanjay Sethji. That there was a doctor in our IMA who was involved, he wanted to promote e-cigarettes. He called me personally also, and I told him that I have been working against e-cigarettes. I had a presentation against e-cigarette in 2013 at Japan, and then 2018 at Malaysia also, Cancer Congress. And about 1,000 doctors who wrote, sent an email to PM House. I think nearly 100 were from Indore and around area only. So VoTV has definitely been doing a very good job, and being led from the front by Sanjay ji and Ashima ji. And Pankaj is, I know, it's his brainchild, and he dedicates a lot of work to time and to his also. So I'm sure with more and more people coming to know about VoTV, they'll get involved with it. As you said, there are about 450 doctors, but very much people who are non-doctors also who are taking good care of things. And I'm sure in the times to come, VoTV and the words we are doing it are very important for it. In Mandal also, we have done it, VoTV. I still remember in one of the meetings of the commissioner, he was taking a meeting of all the district collectors or district administrators, you call them. So I was there. So the moment I came out of the meeting, I got a call from Collector Khargon to come to my place and talk to other people also about it. So that way the impact is always there. And definitely including GST and increasing the GST and the BD was a very important step.
Yeah.
But as Sanjay rightly said, it is very important to work for implementation, and where we need help of everybody at all levels. So I think with this, I would say that we have to work together. As I always say, tobacco control एक आहुति है जिसके अंदर सब यज्ञ सबकी आहुति चाहिए होती है.
Yeah.
We all have to work for it. Thank you, Ashima, for a nice presentation. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Dr. Dilip. And I may just let everybody know that Dr. Dilip and I, we are in constant touch with each other, especially on the issue of the hookah bars and electronic cigarettes. And I think Dr. Dilip has done a lot in his jurisdiction, in his state, about that hookah bars and electronic cigarettes. So thank you, Dr. Dilip. So, Dr. Sanchika, can we have Dr. Aruna with us?
Dr. Gupta, may I, Dr. Rakesh, may I just
Sure.
what
Sure.
Dr.
So-
Dilip Acharya was saying. Dr. Dilip, this is the time when you were talking about district collector. At that time, we were working in the tobacco-free educational institutions when Madhya Pradesh made 99,000 schools legally compliant to that. The signages, the 99,000 schools actually were made legally compliant in toffee. At that time, it was TEFI. That is what you're referring to.
Right.
That was Education Department's data.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, we request that Dr. Aruna, ma'am, can you please come forward and share your comments on the.
Dr. Sanchika, is Dr. Jaskiran with us? She's the State Nodal Officer, Punjab.
No, she's not there.
She's not with us. Okay. So, Dr. Aruna, your comments, Dr. Aruna, please. I think she's not with us.
No, she's there in the meeting.
She's there, but she's not able to listen, or maybe some internet issue. So,
request any participants, if you have any queries, you can raise your hand, you can write in the chat box, or else you can unmute yourself to speak.
yes, any participant who wants, who have any question, they can just ask question by unmuting themselves. Dr. Sahana is with us. Dr. Sahana. Dr. Sahana, are you with us? So any further, yeah, Dr. Aruna, now I think.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for the valuable input on the voice of the victims. It definitely would have an impact on the users.
So after Dr. Aruna, we can have Dr. Sahana, her brief comments. So Dr.
Yes.
Sahana, yeah.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah,
I'm
good
working with the 19 schools here in Pimpri Chinchwad, and Dr. Ashima, if you remember, I think I did contact you maybe probably about 3 years ago, and you had
Yes.
told me that, you're not working with Maharashtra. The work that I'm doing with these 19 secondary schools is going on. Of course, there are challenges. Collaborating with others is a challenge. And I don't see, I see a lukewarm response with the District Tobacco Control Cell. But then recently I conducted a survey that is at the end of 3 years, and I noticed that all the children were telling me that, sale of tobacco, especially the sale of sweetened supari in and around the schools is very much prevalent. And I wrote to the State Tobacco Control Cell, and, immediately they replied to me with the CC to the district collector and the FDA officials asking them to act upon it. Probably this was 1 month back. So I'm awaiting, the action by these officials. That's all for now. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Dr. Sahana, I think one biggest thing which tobacco control community struggles to is the Section 6, wherein, the tobacco products are sold within 100 yards, and how to, get rid of those vendors who are just right outside of the gate. We believe, and VoTV council believes that this will be done by the police, not by the health or by the education, by the health department, or this has to be done, removed by the police, because as an education, as a school, let's say I'm a school, if I have to, my duty is to report, okay, this is a legal violation under COTPA. So this is an offense. Please take action. This is police. I would suggest you to please write to the police. Give the list of the shops to the police. When we worked in Maharashtra, at that time, 76,000 plus schools were made legally compliant. There were only 3 aspects to it when you had contacted me. But at that time, we stopped there. So one big thing, what I'm saying is, I would suggest you to please report that as a violation to COTPA Section 6 in to the police, that please get this removed. See, wo vardi hoti hai na, jab then vardi se I listened. How do you ask me? Principal goes maybe out of respect. Once I will, stop selling tobacco, but I will come back because industry is very powerful. Their main target is to have those shops right at the gate.
Yes,
Yeah.
this has been done. As I told you, I reported the matter. It is not only to the FDA, the District Tobacco Control Cell, the police, and the rural HRM. They have CC'd the same letter to so many other departments. And even in the past, that is at the baseline survey, this was around 3 years back, maybe immediately once the COVID pandemic, it opened. During that time also, there was action by the police. But this time I'm hoping for a better action. I've given them the list of schools. I've even given them photographs because, the sale is so rampant. Section 6B is violated almost in all the schools.
Yeah.
And, this is a big problem. One more problem that I see is with the Yellow Line campaign. Most of the schools are not able to follow the toffee guidelines, exactly the way it is written in the brochure. Schools are sometimes they don't have that much space. It should be 100 yards away from the school gate, and such a thing is not possible. And I have almost let us say 90% compliance. There are very, very few schools who have not done this. Main problem is they ask for money. They say, who's going to provide us with the paint, the brushes, etc. Most of them do it very few of them do it reluctantly, but most of them do it enthusiastically. Of course, I'm at their back. Phone calls are there, visits are there. I'm doing that, but I saw that many principals are doing it on their own. But of course, there are some, and I don't know why this monetary benefit is not there, or why this money is not reaching them. They say we don't have the money. Who's going to provide for the paint, the brush, etc.? These questions are there.
So 2 points. I think one I would share with you that Section 6B, the COTPA Section 6B in Meghalaya, we sensitized the police. Earlier, there were 44% of schools that reported that the shops were there. And when we sensitized the police and they started taking action, it was reduced to 30% in Meghalaya. Second point that you made about the Yellow Line campaign, first of all, as per the Toffee Tobacco-Free Education revised guideline, it says you can mark tobacco-free zone with any color, blue, red, white, whatever you want to. In Meghalaya, in our experience, and that they all ask, what I want to ask you actually, what's the significance? What does tobacco-free zone mean? When you say okay, you mark an area, how does it help? In actual, if we're really talking about implementation, it is there in Toffee guidelines also to mark it 100 yards, from the outside boundary wall of schools. Education.
It means that you are not supposed to sell tobacco products within 100 yards, away from the school premises.
And you are yourself telling us that in Maharashtra, that's the most violated. That's the most violated. Section 6B is the most violated there. It's like in our experience in Meghalaya, in fact, schools, like you said very correctly, that schools either don't have funds or maybe they're saying, I don't have a boundary wall, I don't have a gate also. I don't know what 100 yards is. In Meghalaya, it has moved to the state has decided not to have that as something which is, that is mandatory anymore. They said that this should move into as an activity, is mere an activity wherein children come and paint and go. And because there is a lot of remote areas, those remote areas, people are not able to, do paint or some permissions are required. So they said we will not keep this. We will just move it as an anti-tobacco activity, nothing else. They removed it. And Assam's thinking on similar lines too. because it has no significance. The industry has shops right outside, and we are not able to control it.
And my main concern in Maharashtra, especially in Pune district, is sale of arecanut, sweetened supari. I noticed that the children are consuming sweetened supari more often than smokeless tobacco.
Yes, that is rampant. In fact, Sanjay, you want to? Yeah.
So can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think you really touched upon. I'm very happy. I can see that you are really working on the ground. You really understand what is happening, and these are all the challenges. When you actually go to implement, you realize this is what is happening. So I think firstly, let me compliment you and congratulate you, because I really think when I hear you speak, it is a person who is facing is facing matters on the ground and really knows what you are talking about. So it's good. I love to have a conversation with people like you, because we are now talking on the same page. I think the one thing we, as Ashima pointed out, is we need to understand what schools can do and what they can't do, and what they cannot do is to remove those shops. All right, that only the police can do it. So we need to therefore sensitize the police, and we need to figure out how to get the police on board. Otherwise, it will not happen. You see, it is not just a livelihood issue for the vendor. Any challaning you do to the vendor for selling near the school, that challan is paid for by tobacco industry. All right. So they will come in the evening. Oh, you paid 200 rupee challan. Okay, here's a packet of cigarette. We'll compensate you for it. Okay, to them it doesn't matter. They want the school, they want that shop there. And we've done a study across 4 states, and we are finding that if the prevalence in a state of tobacco use is 40%, the number of schools which have shops around them is almost 40%. And this we are finding in Uttar Pradesh, in Andhra, in Karnataka. We have found this across the states. So in Karnataka, the prevalence is 20%, 20% schools or 18% schools have tobacco shops near them. So this is a real challenge. What you're saying is a real challenge. And therefore, we need to figure out ways of getting the police involved. Then what we do, and which we are doing now in Meghalaya, in Andhra Pradesh, in Assam, we take the list from the school. Okay, do you have a shop near you? Yes, we do. We send that list to the police. And see, for the police, it's a violation, it's a crime. So if you report it formally, then they have to take action. So I think what you really raised as a very, I think so Dr. Sana, you have really raised a very, very important issues. And this is the short answer right now, even though I've talked a lot. But we'd be very happy to continue this dialogue with you and share with you what has worked for us. And we'd be happy to support you in whichever way we can in Maharashtra.
Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Sahana and Dr. Sanjay, Mr. Sanjay. But I may say that this toffee, these are basically only guidelines. So it is not necessary that all the protocols you have to follow. If in a state you can't follow one protocol, really doesn't matter, as Ashima has told you. So now we have Dr. Ramprasad with us. So Dr. Ramprasad, very brief comments from you. You're muted. You're muted. Dr. Ramprasad, you're muted, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. The issue of this is a little sensitive in the sense we can handle it, but there will be a variation from place to place. That is what I personally feel, because what is applicable to one place may not be applicable to another place, and it's the way it is received, the way the information is received by the regulatory authorities and the people who are connected, it varies from place to place. So they first need to be sensitized, and if they're all equally well informed, and if they're of the opinion that yes, this has to be controlled, this has to be brought into a kind of legislation, and this has to be implemented at the earliest, then things will definitely work. But there is a possibility that it may not be received well, and there may be some resistance. So first we need to spend some time with those people who are actually showing some resistance, and then turn them around. In the sense, it takes some effort and time, but I'm sure in the long run it will definitely be helpful.
Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Ramprasad, for your comments.
Thank you.
So I'll now request, actually the DHS has just sent me a message that she's still with the HM for the meeting. So she
Okay.
won't be able to join. So Arunji, for your brief comments, please, and for the formal vote of thanks. Arunji?
Thank you, Dr. Rakesh. I
Yeah.
must say a very informative presentation. First time I'm listening to the presentation which has more focus on the campaign rather than being focusing on the the policies or the guidelines or the legislations. Congratulations to Sanjay ji and Dr. Ashima for doing a very good job. We are really grateful to you. On our part, whatever we can do, we are also doing in our state, in UT, as well as Punjab, and covering some part of the Haryana also. We have learned a lot, and I'm sure that all participants must now have a lot of awareness what is going on, because for me that VoTV, I didn't have much idea what it is doing, but it is doing a great job. Thank you very much for sparing a time to share your experiences, the work being done by VoTV, the mass level campaign being done by it. I mean, the figures are astronomical, in lakhs. The schools are in lakhs, the students are in crores. That's a colossal, figure. Thank you so much. So on behalf of the organizer, I propose a vote of thanks. Thank you so much, Dr. Ashima, Mr. Sanjay, Dr. Siddhi, Dr. Aruna, Dr. Ramprasad, and Dr. Sahana, and all the participants. Once again, thank you so much and have a good day. Dr. Sanchika, any announcement, please?
Thank you, sir. I would like to inform about the next session, which is on 6th of December, Wednesday, 3:30 p.m. onwards. The topic will be harnessing the potential of whistleblowers in tobacco control, engaging CSO. And our subject matter expert would be Dr. Rana Jaising, who is from Union. So we will see you again on Wednesday. Namaste.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you.